Hello everyone, my name is Phawx. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the PC port of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Thank you very much to PlayStation for providing review code for me so that I can take a look at these on ultra low powered PC gaming handhelds like everyone's favorite, the Steam Deck. Now the Steam Deck I think is what a lot of people are going to be looking at it, and I'm pleased to report that this PC port is absolutely fantastic and runs exceedingly well on here. This video is going to be divided in a few different places. We're going to be also comparing it to other AMD PC gaming handhelds like the GPD Win 4 that also have the 6800U or AMD 7840U. We're going to be looking at this on the 7840U in different wattages like 15 watt, 20 watt, and 25 watt compared to the 15 watt on the Steam Deck. But we're also going to be looking at my preferred settings that I would personally recommend, only because when we take a look at how texture quality settings can actually heavily impact performance on the device, I'll show you that later on in this video. This video is going to be divided into a few different spots. Up first, I want to talk about the loading times between my Steam Deck and my WinMax 2 7840U. For what it's worth, my Steam Deck is running the Samsung PM991 1TB SD card, the 2230 SD card. And on my WinMax 2 7840U is Corsair's P3 Plus 4TB stick, which is QLC NAND. It's not the best, but it is rather decent. Generally speaking, we're going to be looking somewhere around like 50% of a difference. Sometimes if the load time is like 0.6 seconds on the WinMax 2, it'd be like 0.9 seconds on the Steam Deck, which is still alarmingly fast. And that's really not that big of a deal. So up first, let's go ahead and take a look at that comparison right now.
The dimensions are weakening considerably. How bad is it? Well, it is certainly not good. Right. Where are we? Beats me.
To the depths with the arms you got!
Boy?
What manner of trickery? Get off me, ship, foul creature!
Again, I want to stress here how impressive the PC port here is. Consider again that this is a PS5 exclusive that has been ported over to PC, and Nixxes has the job of trying to make this accommodate for all the PC hardware out there, and they still want to leverage the latest and greatest, so they're using direct storage, but they still have to be able to fall back and use other types of compression and decompression. So let's go ahead and take a look back into that Steam Deck demo and take a look at when the loading happens. We can very clearly see our CPU power budget spike during the loading assets, where we can actually see all the power budget is going to the CPU to decompress all of those assets to load them in, and is doing it alarmingly fast. So again, taking a look at the technical direction that Nixxes went with, they really deserve a lot of kudos here because this is a fantastic PC port. Talking about loading in assets, let's talk about how loading in different texture quality settings actually affects PC performance. We're going to do this on the WinMax 2 7840U. We're going to do this at 28 watts. We're going to be using the settings that I'm going to be talking about in just a moment, just after the segment, but we're going to take a look at the benchmarks here on those different quality settings. With my Phawx settings and only changing the texture quality settings, let's take a look at the difference between medium and low. Medium and low, for what it's worth, are basically the same. Averages, the same. 1 percentile, we're looking at a 2% difference. 0.2 percentile, we're looking at a 6% difference. However, the thing that I want you to note here is that what I had to do, there is no benchmark that I could just load and run and have a sequence that'll be the same. I had to create a manual save where there was a lot of activity and try to traverse that path the same way each time I did this. So when we take a look at medium and low, there might be this small deviation here, but for the most part, we take a look, medium and low have effectively the same performance profile. So this is why when we take a look at my preferred settings, why I guide you towards using medium textures. If we take a look at the difference of high quality, when we take a look at the averages, we're looking at around a 10% performance improvement on low and medium. And if we take a look at 1 percentile, we're looking at around 25% better versus low and medium. And if we look at 0.2 percentile, we're looking at 30% better between low and medium. Now this 1 percentile and 0.2 percentile is where you're really going to start feeling those frames, those low frames coming in. That's where you're going to start feeling it, starting to feel a little kludgy. Now, even here, you see our averages around 76 FPS. Even when there's a lot of action going on, generally speaking, we're going to get really high performance. Even on the Steam Deck, we're going to have really high performance in this same area. So when I take a look at benchmarks generally, I had to find a very, very heavy hitting scene so that we can kind of determine what our worst case performance is going to be. We're going to touch base on that in just a moment. Before we go there, I just want to take a jump back to the benchmarks and take a look at the very high quality settings. And very high quality, the averages is around 30% better on low and medium versus high quality. Once we go into 1 percentile though, we're looking at a 240% difference between low and medium quality. This is huge, and you definitely feel it and see it. If you look at 0.2 percentile, we're like 320% better, 300% better, basically 3 times of a difference on 0.2 percentile, and you really feel this difference. So again, for PC gaming handhelds, things that are low power devices, I would really recommend that you only look at low or medium textures. Personally for me, just do medium textures. That seems to be a sweet spot and what I recommend. Let's go ahead and talk about my recommended settings right now. In this segment of the video, I'm going to be going over my preferred settings for Ratchet and Clank on portable devices. What we're looking at right now is the Steam Deck running SteamOS 3.5. I am outputting to a capture device, and I am specifying it to run at 720p. That is why if you look at the top, you can see Mango HUD is directly overlaying on the screen itself, whereas on the Steam Deck, it would actually have a black bar so that it's a lot cleaner. I do prefer running 720p because Mango HUD is visibly easy to see on the top and doesn't obstruct anything that is on the screen itself. So let's go ahead and take a look at my particular settings at 720p. We are going to be taking a look at the different image quality settings. Now, right now we are running balanced AMD FSR 2.1. Even though I'll be benchmarking those other settings so you have a better idea of how it affects performance, I am going to be leaving it at balanced just because I prefer balanced. Now, when we are blowing up this image, it's easier to see image quality problems. But on the Steam Deck panel itself, it actually is a little bit masked just because of how small the screen is. But we'll keep it at balance because at performance or ultra performance, that's when you can really start to see the image upscaling really starting to wreck image quality, even on the Steam Deck display itself. So I prefer to leave it unbalanced. Now we're going to start getting into the part where we start tweaking the very low preset. For texture quality, go ahead and bump that up to medium. For texture filtering, this is actually pretty interesting. If you can take a look at the carpet in the front, right where Ratchet is standing. Once we start boosting this up, you're going to start knowing this moire effect happening when we do anything that's higher. Typically, going to 16x azeotropic filtering doesn't impact GPU performance all that much, especially because the GPU on the Steam Deck is very powerful, but with the moire effect that's happening in the background, it is a little bit distracting for types of patterns that can be close up. Because of the texture filtering problems that happens with what's in the visible range of where your eyes are, I'm going to go ahead and actually make this to trilinear myself. For shadow quality, this is something that is very noticeable very, very quickly. Take a look at what happens going from very low to even low. Actually is a dramatic shift to improve image quality completely throughout the entire scene. Not only do we have better shadows up front, but also shadow just from the balloon animal in the back. You can just see everything just gets far more detailed just going from low. And we don't take a ginormous performance hit from there. We're looking at around an 8% performance hit going from very low to low. Likewise, if we go to medium, we take another 8% hit or so. So we're looking at a 15% hit. For me, shadow quality medium is the best setting, especially on a portable system where we trade image quality and performance. For ambient occlusion, doing SSAO is a recommended setting for me. Going further down for geometry, I'm going to keep all of this as low as it was from the very low preset. And then the camera effects, this really is just to taste. So for chromatic aberration, if we take a look on the outside edges of the screen, we can see what happens when we put it on or off. This really doesn't impact performance all that much with it on or off. It's pretty much exactly the same. So again, this is just to taste. So by default, the motion blur strength is at a 10. And this is a bit intense, and I'm not sure that it's absolutely perfect. You might want to tweak this to kind of how you want it specifically for yourself, but this is pretty intense. I'm going to go ahead and dial this to a 3 myself. And that's fine enough for me. Okay, now that we've talked about my particular settings and what I recommend, let's also take a look at how different FSR upscaling techniques work with my particular settings. So here is a quick benchmark that we can see that what we're looking at here, this is a worst case scenario benchmark. So when we take a look and we're seeing like 30 FPS or 38 FPS on ultra performance mode or on balance, we're looking at basically having a stable 30 FPS here. So this is 720p 30, which is not fantastic, but again, this is a very hard scene to run and the hardest scene that I can find to run. And this is what I'm going to be saying is that what you're generally going to feel as the worst case scenario with my particular settings. So what is the difference between quality and balance? So if we take a look at quality, we're looking at a 7% performance difference on averages. Balance to performance, we're looking at, again, a 7% performance difference, and between performance and ultra performance, around a 10% performance improvement. However, I recommend doing the balance preset. So when we take a look at balance, what we're really talking about is having between an 8% or a 20% performance boost using performance or ultra performance. Now, that may not seem all that great. I mean, we're talking about basically 5 to 6 FPS difference. If we were to take a look at the image quality difference, here is what ultra performance looks like versus performance mode, versus balanced, and versus quality. Now, overall, in my particular opinion, again, this is something that I covered as well. I am choosing balanced FSR. It is the best bang for the buck, the best value for image quality and performance. All right, so now let's take this exact same hard to run scene, but also see how it runs versus AMD's 7840U. Now, the Steam Deck I am running at 15 watt, which is what it caps out at. So if we take a look at that as our base, we can see that we're running at 32.7 FPS average. And then if we do 15 watt on the 7840U, we're looking at having basically a 17% performance increase over the Steam Deck. However, if we go to 20 watt, we're looking at a 35% increase. If we go to 25 watt, we're looking at a 43% increase. Largely, the 20 watt zone is where we find the most comfort for running on 7840U, which is pretty much the same for the 6800U. We're looking at 18 to 20 watt really being the sweet spot, the value spot for where we should be running these devices anyway. So this is just a high-level overview of performance benchmarks between SteamOS, Steam Deck SteamOS 3.5 versus AMD 7840U running on Windows. So that's it for my video on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Again, this PC port is fantastic. If you were looking forward to playing this game, it is a sensational port even on launch day. I hope that we're going to see even more improvements as time goes on, but as it stands right now, I can definitely recommend this for any PC gaming handle that you have. That's it for me, guys. I hope this was informative. As always, thank you for your time, and thanks for watching.